podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Evening, everybody. Welcome along to your Monday night Rangers Rabble with myself, Wolf, in the chair, and I'm joined tonight. No phone in this evening. The phones are have been put into cold storage, I believe, for the time being. So it's just the three of us talking about Rangers. So get the comments in. That'll steer the conversation the way you want it steered. So I'm joined tonight, as I say, by Brian, who I haven't spoke to in about 10 minutes. Brian, how are you?
Yeah, all good, all good. I just wish I could say the same about our team, but I'm sure we'll delve into that more in the next hour.
I'm quite impressed that you've changed your top in those 10 minutes as well. I went to the coffee and changed your top. I'm quite impressed with that. And also joining us from offshore Norfolk is Mark. Mark, how's things in the Midland and North Sea?
All good, mate. All good, considering. But yeah, no, I'm all good. I'm good. I'll be even better come Wednesday, off on Wednesday. So looking forward to that. Looking forward to getting off the Betty Ford clinic.
And then straight on a lash.
Well, no straight. A wee bit of drive, and I've got the wee team that I help coach. We've got our last game of the season, so I'm straight up the road and straight to the sidelines. But after that, I'm definitely going to have one.
Good.
Anyway, Wolf, believe me when he says straight up the road, it will be straight up the road.
Oh, I believe it. It's a long road as well. It's a long road as well. But anyway, Mark, I believe that you didn't actually get to see the game on Saturday. You were keeping the wheels of industry going down there where you are. So, Brian, I'll throw this one at you. As far as I'm concerned, the game on Saturday at Tynecastle, obviously 3-3 draw, was just a microcosm of our season so far. Starting off, Cyril Dessers missing a sitter when he's got to score and hits the keeper. We get a Stonewall penalty denied. Don't know why VAR didn't look at it. Dessers gets his jersey almost ripped off his back. I don't know why he didn't look at that. Then the Hearts have their first attack, and guess what? Hearts scored. And it all came off a sloppy pass, and that basically sums up the first half.
Pretty much. I can't even count in my fingers how many times we've played games this season where we've dominated the first half and we haven't capitalised. And it's just, as you said, it's symptomatic of the whole season. And it's obviously, for me, there's a mentality issue at the club. Certain people at the club are needing moved on, and were needing moved on a long time ago. And for me, it's now creeping in again, and it's a horrible thing to say, but I'm not gonna polish a turd, as I've said before. That's just the way I see it. We should have recycled this squad a long time ago, and we didn't. And I'm afraid now we're kind of paying the price for that. So, but in saying that, I'm not leveraging any blame at Clement in the sense of the playing staff, because obviously he's working with players that obviously was signed by other managers. But I do believe he'll have he's obviously going to have a massive say in the summer revamp. So I'm quite excited to see what he's going to bring to the table as far as new signings and the profiles of the players. So it's going to be an interesting summer, but an exciting one.
Right, okay, so that basically jumped ahead to the other agenda points that I had, because I was going to talk about the game with Hartford. You've jumped ahead. So, Mark, as soon as you jumped onto new players that we have, there's a mountain of signing rumours already, and the season's not even finished yet.
Yeah, obviously everybody knows it's my favourite time of that January and summers. I love it. I love a bit of transfer gossip. It keeps me going. I like to search out and dig up as much dirt as I can, and anybody that's even remotely or possibly linked with us. Lots of good names. The Cordoba one seems to be, by all accounts, it seems to be pretty much done. I think what I'm reading and what I'm seeing is that it's allegedly he's signed a contract, but the fees actually not been agreed with the two clubs. But I think if I'm not mistaken, probably I'm mistaken knowing me, but I think he's in the last year of his contract anyway. So surely it's not going to be a big bun fight. And what I really like is the fact that we are looking at young, dynamic players that are going to be in an upward trajectory and looking to improve an improving young player and looking to a couple of years and sell them on and make a profit on them. So for me, we've deviated massively from the way that we've done business over the last probably, you could go back 12 years probably. We've just we're now looking to build through youth, which for me is a brilliant thing. I think for a lot of the fans, it sounds like a good idea, but you guys know that once these young boys are going to be inconsistent and they're probably not going to get a lot of time, which for me seems you know what the support's going to be like. So yeah, I don't really want to see these young boys getting terrorised left, right, and centre, which you know is probably going to happen if they're not performing and not hitting the ground running, which is a bit of a sad indictment to our fans, to be fair. But I'm very excited about it. The direction we're going in, I think, is the direction we should have been going in for the last probably 10 years, maybe even more than that.
Yeah, I agree with that. As Davy P says, I've heard 3 to 3.5 million as well from the boy Cordoba from Levski Sofia, who I believe is a 22-year-old left centre back. Brian, you're a football man. Do you know about him?
I've not heard of him, no, but I've been sort of trying to read up as much as I can, and yeah, he's seemingly a strong left-sided centre back, which is a position that's obviously needed. As somebody else said in the comments, it's going that quick. I can't remember who said it, but it's nice to see, this sort of thing's getting done early. I don't like this waiting until the last minute and stuff like that. I'd rather get things done and sorted early so that the players can come in, they can get their pre-season under them, and they can get used to the way that the manager wants to play. As everybody would like, it's much preferred if they get in early doors and get all the business done early, as they say. So yeah, I mean, it's a position that we've been crying out for a long time. So it's one step in the right direction. I'll say it's a good age. He's seemingly got the profile. The manager obviously likes him, so we'll just have to see.
Yeah, Alan, Brian, I'll stick with you. Alan makes a point here. He's seen his link with a Georgian midfielder who's out of contract at Sturm Graz. She's won a double. If there's a new one on me, I don't know who this fella is, so I can't even put a name to it. If we are linked with the guy is just won a double. He knows how to win things. We have to also be, as well as getting the age profile right, we really need in guys that know how to get trophies over the line.
Absolutely, because that's what our club's built on. It's all about success and winning trophies. So it's as you say, it's getting the guys that have won things as well, which is really important. It's all very well being a good young player, but if you've not won anything, then that's the sort of mentality sort of that you're wanting. You're wanting guys that have won things and they're used to winning things, and that sort of just becomes normal sort of mentality at Rangers. You don't want guys that are struggling and playing in sort of poorer teams, because it's all very that's there's no barometer for that. So it's guys that are winners and they're young and they're hungry, because everybody, let's be honest, everybody knows that Scotland is probably a good sort of springboard to go down to the English league. So a lot of people see that as the sort of stepping stone. So if somebody wants to come in and smash 35-40 goals for us in a season and then go down to England, that's fine by me, as long as we win the league.
Yep, indeed. Right, so Mark, picking up John's comment here before I throw another couple of names at you. Would you guys be happy with one striker coming in? Maybe a Shankland. Now, I'm on record as saying I don't want Lawrence Shankland, not now. In January, possibly if the price was right, but the price wasn't right in January. I certainly don't want him now. He's the wrong side of 30. He's getting towards the wrong side of 30 now. So say it's not Shankland. The answer is point one striker, is that?
Not a chance. I would bring in 3, at least. is what I would say. I think that I'll try and explain why. I think in the Shankland thing, I think I'm on record many times saying that I would take him at the right price. I would 100% take him at the right price. I think he'd be a smashing player, but no for the kind of money that they're wanting. Somebody's just said there, Majowski, take him in a heartbeat as well, 100%. But for me, I think that we've struggled. We've really, really struggled this season. We've had big debtors, and that's it. That's all we've had up front, and we have properly struggled. I think that cannot happen again. I think that you for me at a minimum 2, but I would like to bring in 3, and I would keep Dessers. And the reason I'm saying that is because you've got Danilo coming back, and I think he's been out for a long, long time. And you guys know, you have watched football long enough, that he's not going to come back and have a pre-season and all of a sudden be the exact same player that he was before he got injured. He's going to need at least half a season to get up to speed, to get his touch back, to get his fitness back, to get his match sharpness back. So for me, he is a player that comes on last 10, 15 minutes a game. We slowly bleed him in. So we can't really rely on him. So for me, Dessers is your second or third striker, as far as I'm concerned. Good big player, great servant to the club so far. I mean, his goals is, you can't fault it. Obviously, you can fault the fact that he misses a lot of chances. But for me, I think he's a hand enough guy to keep kicking about. I'd bring in at least another 2. If we can get 3, by all means 3. So for me, you bring a young boy in that you're looking to nurture. Some maybe 18, 19-year-old pick that player, try and bleed them into the squad. Very similar to the thing that we've done with Morelos. We brought him in, slowly bled him into the squad, and all of a sudden he became our number 1 striker. So for me, you bring a guy in that's a young boy in that's going to improve, and you bleed him in gently. You bring in an absolute number 1 striker. That's your first choice striker. He's going to start every game. And for me, possibly either bring another one that's going to challenge your number 1 striker if we've got the money for it, or you bring an older striker in that kind of does a bit part play as well, and obviously the rest of the strikers and young boys and stuff like that can learn from. As I said, at least 2 strikers we're going to need in, at least.
I mean, following on from what Mark was saying there, I think it's, we've got to sort of remind ourselves as well that obviously the quota, the national quota is, not great at our club. And I think it's prudent of us to, look around our own league and see who we can, get. There's lots of good young players in Scotland that are, doing really well. So, I mean, there's surely got to be 2 or 3 in the league that we've got to be looking at and, certainly keeping an eye on and thinking that they could do a job at us. We've done it for years. We just haven't done it in the last, wee while. So I'd like to see a good sort of core of Scottish players in there as well.
Yeah, but Brian, the problem we have with that is if we're signing any Scottish players, there's going to be the price the club wants plus what everybody perceives to be the Rangers tax. I mean, there was somebody put in the comments here, Majowski, I know he's not Scottish, but he's come from a Scottish club, and Aberdeen would want, between 5 and 7 million from them. They probably want more than that from us, certainly the high end of that from us. So we'd need to be getting players under freedom of contract like Conor Bannon. Nobody knows where he's going. The rumour in January was he was coming to Rangers. We haven't heard a whisper whether he is or not. We don't know. Nobody knows. But to go and get likes of a Lennon Miller or somebody of that ilk, it's going to cost whatever the selling club wants, plus because we're Rangers.
Yeah, we've said it many a time. I mean, I think as some, a lot of people have been saying in the comments, Miles could be a good signing. He would be, but for me, to deal with the club that he's at is just going to be impossible for us because I just don't think they'll deal with us. It's as simple as that. So, and as you said, it's going to be the asking price plus a bit more because it's us. So, but I don't think the head of recruitment and Clement will be sort of hoodwinked into like big money sort of signings. I think I'm hoping that they're going to be a little bit more prudent with their money because let's be honest, last summer's spending was pretty savage. To be honest, there's Dessers for 4 million and 3.5 for Lammers. I mean that's 8 million just down the tubes. I mean if we get anything back from Lammers for Utrecht, because I believe Utrecht are wanting to sign him. If we get anything back on that sort of deal, money wise, then that'd be brilliant.
Yeah, Mark, just touching on Charlie's point here as we're talking about him. Utrecht can't afford to give us money for Lammers. I heard today on another podcast that Utrecht are very, very keen on keeping Sam Lammers. He scored 9 and 10 towards the end of the season there for Utrecht. They want to keep him. They've agreed a price with Rangers. They just need to find a way of funding it.
I think, yeah, I seen something about that as well, and I think that the big problem is his wages as well. I think they've got a wage cap and a wage structure that I think Lammers his wages will smash. So I don't know. I don't see how you go around about that. But listen, see if he's done well in Holland. I'll put a pound to a penny that there'll be other Dutch clubs that would be interested in signing him. So I think he's Dutch and he's done well over there. He's done well there in 2 spells now. So I don't think there'll be will be short of suitors for him. I think I don't think he's coming back to Rangers. I think he will get sold, and I think we'll at least get our money back on him, which for me is a great bad business. I think that somebody said in the comments as well, if you get money for Dessers as well, punt him. And listen, if somebody comes in and offers us, if somebody's buying him off his record alone, then you should get your money back in Dessers, no problem. Is a 22 goal striker? Then if you'd never seen Dessers play in your life, and somebody said to you, we're signing a boy who scored 22 goals and 5 assists last season, you'd be like, oh, he sounds all right, get him in. So let's hope nobody watches his highlight. And in fact, his highlight reels just all going to be his goals. So we're laughing. Let's get his highlight reels together with all his goals, all 22 of them, and his assists. It'll look like an absolute worldie, and we'll maybe even get 10 million for him.
Yeah, no, I mean, Brian, Mark's right. If money comes in, gets offered, I mean, the people saying, get rid of Lawrence, get rid of this one, get rid of that one. That's fine. These guys are under contract, so if nobody wants them, we're stuck with them unless we do what Mark Allen was great at doing and just say, look, we'll just rip up your contract, pay your money here as well, just keeping them here if you're just going to pay them off. So we'll have to get suitors for these guys, and I think the recruitment department will do that. But there's a comment here as well from Alec while we're on. I wasn't particularly going to major on transfers tonight, but we're here now. So do we think there's anybody sniffing around Hadji, or does Hadji come back? Because Clement's not seen Hadji because he was out the building when he came in. So do you think he'll bring him back, have a look at him, then potentially punt him? Do you think he'll maybe keep him? Will we try and move him on to Turkey? Where's he going? What's happening with him?
If I remember rightly, I'm sure he was asked about this, Philip Clement, and I'm sure he said he wanted him back in pre-season because he wants to see him, because he obviously hasn't seen him. So if my memory serves me right, I'm sure he was asked about that, and he was quoted as saying that he wants to Hadji back in pre-season because he obviously wants to have a look at him, and he's obviously, as you say, Hadji was out the building before Clement came in. So it's definitely one that I would say is a question mark just now, because obviously the manager will have to assess him over the pre-season and decide what does he fit into the system that he wants. I don't believe he's getting an incredible amount of minutes at Alaves, but he had such a bad injury. He needed game time, and obviously, getting game time at us was going to be very difficult. So I think as Rangers on tour saying, he'll probably be off to the Euros as well with Romania. So if he has a good Euros, Hadji, then you never know. The manager might look at that and say, oh, well, he can do a job with us, or he might take him in and look at him and say, no, he doesn't fit in with us. So for me, it's a massive question mark just now, I think, until obviously the manager sees him in pre-season.
Yeah, Mark, another person that we've been linked with is the boy from Rapid Bucharest, the Kosovan fella, Albion Rahmani. And I'm sorry if I've absolutely butchered him, a 23-year-old striker, while we're talking about strikers. Now,
yes.
Carol seems to think we won't get him because of who Rapid Bucharest have just appointed as a new manager. From what I've heard, the deal's probably too far down the road for Mr. Lennon to have any say in the matter. But do you think we'll get him? And if we are going to get him, is Mr. Lennon going to try and put a spoke in the works?
I think that generally these things are out with the manager's control. I think that if the money's right and the deal's been done, and I would very much think that he's not going to be able to put the stoppers on that. I think that it's if there's money to be made, especially at clubs that don't really have the luxury to say no, we're keeping a hold of players. So I think a bit of luck we're going to get him. But I've seen a few other ones as well. I looked at a wee clip of him looks decent as well. But it's quite exciting because, as I said, a lot of these players none of us have ever heard of.
Yep.
And
Talking about players we've never heard of, I'll throw another one at you. And I'm really sorry because I am going to absolutely butcher this. This is the last one I've got. The African fella from Orlando Pirates. Have you heard about this guy, Brian? And if you have,
that's a new one for me.
If you have, you can try and pronounce his name.
Come on then.
I apologize to this gentleman and all his family. His name, I believe, is Relevokil Befoking.
Yes. Yeah, hope it doesn't decide so you don't ever need to say his name ever again. Well, because you've absolutely murdered that.
What position does he play?
He's a winger.
He's a winger.
He's a 19-year-old winger currently playing with Orlando Pirates.
And the usual things that's been flung about is, I think the first one that I seen was likening him to Iniesta. And somebody's even likened him to Pele. So you know what that means, don't you? We're going to sign him and he's going to be Ryan Rotten. And that's going to be the headline. No, I looked him up. I looked him up when I heard about it. And a 19-year-old, I think he's kind of classed as a South African wonder kid. I think is the way to listen. There's a few, by all accounts, there's a few big teams after him. I seen Ajax were interested. I think Leipzig as well were interested. So I don't know whether that's maybe just trying to get more money for him, which generally happens. But he looks a decent player. He looks very, very tricky. He looks as if he's quick, very, very skillful. Looks like a wee boy, but he's 19-year-old. He's not exactly big, massive, and overpowering. So, but listen. As I said to you, exciting. All these kind of young players that are obviously got a exciting profile in other countries. And how refreshing is it that we're actually looking for players in obscure leagues in obscure countries? Instead of, do you know what, he plays in the Championship, let's go and buy him. Do you know what I mean? So it's nice that we're actually looking under rocks and trying to find things. We're trying to find gems and stuff like that. And all these kind of boys are all going to come in at probably our price bracket. I mean, let's be honest. You're talking about this boy's got a £400,000 release clause, and he's valued at $6 million, something like that. So, this is what we should be doing. This is what we should have been doing for the last 12 years, which is, as I said, it's very refreshing. So, but the boy looks like a decent player, but he looks like a decent player in the South African League. So you bring him in and you nurture him. It's definitely not going to. I would think he's definitely not going to be a first team starter unless he comes. If we bring him in pre-season and training, he's absolutely smashed it. Then that's a different story. But looking at him, it looks like a very talented young man that obviously has got a lot of potential. And I think that's our remit this summer: buying and bringing in potential.
Brian, we've tried the South African League before and it wasn't exactly an enormous success.
See that? Yeah, absolutely. I'm kind of in the boat of buying guys that we know can handle this league. I'm not really in the mood for signing projects and potential. I'm wanting guys that are ready made to win. I've had enough. I'm kind of, my patience sort of is worn thin with this. Oh, this guy's young, his potential's good. Fair enough, but we're needing guys to come into this first 11. I mean, it's not as though we're adding to the squad and we're going to be there's a lot of guys going to be shifting on in the summer. We're needing guys that are coming in that are going to be first team starters. We can't afford to be buying, oh, this he's a young and up and coming guy. We need guys that are going to come in, take on the mantle of being a first 11 Rangers player and be ready. I'm really wary of signing guys.
Brian, just on that, who, just to play devil's advocate a wee bit, who have we brought in that's been a project player like that? Because I can't remember anybody that we've brought in that's been a project player. I'm struggling. I'm struggling to find that. I take 100% take on board. I take on board what you're saying, 100%, because I'm the same as well. But I think that this is the point we're fishing in now. I think this is we need to be realistic. but we've no really had a team that's had 4 or 5 project players that are young and as I said, but 100% take on it. Just playing a wee bit of devil's advocate there.
Yeah.
100% take
yeah,
on board.
I mean,
we need to win this league next year. Simple
Yeah.
as that. And tried and tested is 100%, but tried and tested is expensive. That's what I'm saying. So
Yeah.
it's trying to find a nice balance. I think that we need to be bringing in maybe 4 or 5 players like that are going to hopefully try and blossom. But I think that as well, we need to bring in tried and tested. The other one, just sorry to kind of steal the show, but the other one, Paddy McNair, is right up that street where you were talking about, which is another name that's been flung about recently.
Free contract, Rangers fan, he would. I mean,
But
he's played in the Championship. He'll know all about the club, so that's the sort of.
I'm a Rangers fan, and I'm out of contract. They're no fucking signing me.
The fucking might, you never know.
You never know.
Maybe a better job.
Yeah, but I think I'm sort of going down the route of sort of like Matondo. You know what I mean? A guy that lost his way and was bought for big money, and then we've taken him on big money, and it hasn't worked. Things like that. That's the sort of. I'm just hoping that the manager and the head of recruitment, Neil Scotland, go down the route of, using our money a lot wiser than just splurging it on, Dessers and Lammers, for example. As I say, that's just what I'm trying to get at. I just want us to be wiser with our money this summer.
Right, so Brian, talking about being wiser with the money, and there was a comment I put up there earlier that we will be getting money from Tillman being transferred to PSV. We'll also be getting money if Leeds go up. We get another $500,000 from them because they signed Glenn Kamara. There'll be other bits and pieces of cash coming in to add to any pool that we've got. But we've also got the young players that we need to look at, possibly bringing into the first. Do you think we should be looking at? Obviously, Zach Lovelace, who's not come back from his injury that he got against St Mirren on his first team start. Bailey Rice, there's guys like Blair. I can't even say his name. Blaine McClure. Can't even say his name. Who is in the 18s, and he's a prodigious talent. Paul Ncio, who scored the winner in the Youth Cup final. He's now, it's decision time on him. He's now too old for that, so they need to decide. So, do you think he's going to put faith in a lot of these young guys, which would, again, save it, or would you class them as project players that we really need to be getting rid of?
It'll be very brave of the manager to go down the sort of, I'm not going to say class of 92 like Ferguson, but you know what I mean? It's in that sort of category where as long as the guys are getting promoted on merit rather than just because they're young. I mean, Alan's saying there, Rice, Lowry, and Fraser. Fraser, when he played against Hearts at the weekend, looked really good, really busy, energetic. So that's a young player we've got right there. So I mean, he would be in the first team squad next year. Again, Lowry, we all know how. Well, hopefully he'll go away for the summer, have a nice holiday, and then come back and get down to business. Rice is another one that we've spoke about. I think Beale gave him Gio gave him a game at Livingston. I believe he came on. Didn't look out of place. I think he was only 16 at the time. So it's going to be it's all dependent on what Phillips Clement sees in the summer and what he sees in pre-season.
There you go, Mark. Bluebells or Blues asking, words aside, is Philip Clement giving anyone faith that he'll actually bring through youth? Now, to caveat that, to stick up for the manager a little bit, he has played Robbie Fraser in the last 2 games. Now, Robbie Fraser made his first team debut last midweek against Dundee, having previously been on the bench against Hearts 2 years ago. So he's been hanging about that long, waiting for the first team debut, and the manager showed that faith in him. But that aside, and the words aside, is he giving you any faith that he will, bring through youth players?
I think we signings. Look at Cortez, young player, energetic, looking to bring him in. I understand that that's not bringing through youth, but he's obviously looking towards youth. I mean, that's as I said, that looks like the remit. Diomande, same again, young, energetic, blah blah blah. So I've got every faith that now that he's going to get to have a full season, bring in his own players, put your stamp on the team, work with Coppin to bring players in and stuff like that. I have no qualms with him. I think that if these young boys that are in the background are good enough, they will get a game. Look at me, he's stuck by McCausland. So for me, it could have ditched McCausland because he's a young boy, but he's not done that. He's stuck by him. And listen, McCausland started really well and had a really quite a bad dip, and he stuck by him, and he's still brought him on as a sub, and he started him in Old Firm games and stuff like that. So that for me tells you that answers that question as far as I'm concerned. So now it's up to these young boys to show that they're good enough. He's obviously spoke about the fact that McCausland only trained with the team 5 times last season, and he's obviously spoke about all these young boys are all training with the first team at the moment. So for me, that's a step up straight away, regards to the last 2 managers. So that for me that can answer the question. I think obviously time will tell, but for me, he's done a lot more in the 6 months that he's been here regarding youth than the last 2 managers have done. So I think that you just need to give the guy a chance and see what happens.
Right, Brian, here's Gazza 72. Well, one of the reasons I believe we don't play as many youth players than we possibly can. The fans don't give the youth a chance, especially if we're playing catch up at Christmas. Now, the Rangers supporters are really, really tough support to play in front of, and as Richard Gough famously said, you're only as good as your last pass. And if a youth player doesn't particularly hit the ground running, then it could be the end of them. That's a yellow card, Brian.
Sorry, I was coughing earlier, so that's why I went on mute. Yeah, as I've said before, we flung young Leon King into the team in the Champions League. Obviously, slightly different level, but folk were then deeming him not very good, and hounding him, and it's playing the players at the right time. If you're 3-4-0 up against a team at home, get them on as soon as you go 3-0 up. Get them on, give them a chance to sort of play games and sort of relax. Enjoy the game. You're not wanting to play them away at sort of Hibs or stuff like that. You want to bed them in slowly. You don't want to just chuck them in at the deep end like we had to do with Leon King. So it's all about timing and getting them in the team at the right time. I mean, Zach Lovelace got his chance against St Mirren away, unfortunately picked up an injury, so that was unfortunate. But things like that, let them loose, because youth players have got no fear. And as somebody else said, they're going to make mistakes. So you just got to accept that's part and parcel of a youth player. Except they're going to, if they try something that doesn't come off great, at least they're trying something. It's if they get to a position they don't try something, then you start to worry. But if they're trying things that's not coming off, it'll happen eventually.
Yeah, right. Go on then, Mark. Get this one out of the way. Charlie's question before we get back to sensible stuff. If we ship 4 or 5 on Saturday, are we looking to get rid of the manager?
No, not a chance. Not a hope in hell.
Agreed.
Purely for the reason that this, I've said it in other pods, this team have resorted to type. And I think that the problem is that I think genuinely he said, you know what, these guys are your Goldsons, your Lundstroms, they're no good enough. They're no good enough, and I don't think he'll play them. I think that Tavernier's hanging on with the absolute skin of his teeth. I really do. I think that he's made his mind up. I think that injuries have not helped, because I think that we will be a shell of a side. So there might be every possibility that we take a hiding, which scares the life out of me. But as I said, no, you need to get this. For me, Steven Gerrard got 3 seasons and he done it. For me, we can't just keep sacking manager after manager after manager. We just can't do it. We don't want to we're starting to become a laughingstock of a revolving door with managers and stuff like that. And that's never been what Rangers have been about, ever. As I said, I know that everybody gets jumpy, a couple of bad results, everybody's getting jumpy. I think that we're going to need to just settle down. And I think, to be fair, a lot of the time we accepted Gerrard and accepted that. I mean, Clement came in and said there would be bumps in the road, and it was absolutely true. His word is exactly what's happened. But I think we need to give these managers time. Any manager, I think you need to give him time. I know that I get slagged for it. I get backing him and backing him. If he's at Rangers, I'm going to back you. Even if you're a crap player, I'm still going to back you because he's a Rangers player. Simple as that. I understand people don't like it, but you can't just keep sacking managers. As simple as that.
No, 100% agree with you. We've got to stick with it. I'm with you. It could go very, very badly on Saturday, but then again, I'm an eternal optimist, and I think we'll absolutely smash them on Saturday. So we'll get to that towards the end. So Brian, on the subject of Saturday, because we'll forget about the rest of the looking at the Hearts game, because it just didn't end well. We just lost the same goal we always lose twice.
Yeah.
And you talked about it on the post match. So folks, if you want to hear about last Saturday's game, go back and watch the post match, because Brian was on that as well. So you want to hear anything new, and Mark didn't see it, so there's no point in dwelling on that. So cup final on Saturday, Brian. The big question: does John Lundstrom start?
Nope.
Is
Not
that
for
your
me.
opinion, or is that what the manager will do?
That's what I would do. I'm kind of thinking that the manager will. I hope he doesn't. I think the Old Firm performance he put in was probably one of the worst I've ever seen. An own goal, a red card, couldn't be much worse. I think the thing that really pissed people off was the fact of the timing of the red card. We had just scored a goal. We'd got back into the game just before half time, and you thought to yourself, right, we're 2-1 down. We're not out of this. Get back in at half time, rejig a couple of things, tweak a few things, and then come out in the second half. But Lundstrom basically ended the event as a contest with his red card. And for me, I just don't see him having the sort of the composure or the sort of, just the level-headedness to see that game out. For me, that was for a guy in his 30s. If it was a young 18, 19-year-old kid that made that tackle, you could say, oh, well, he's naive, he's a bit rash. But for a 30-year-old seasoned pro to go and do that and, throw his players under the bus, for me, I said it at the time, I think after the game, that for me was his last outing as a Rangers player, and I don't want to see him again. Simple as that.
Mark, are you similar, or do you think the manager will? Because he seems to be the manager's boy, and he's not come out and said that categorically he's not going to play, because he's not going to do that, is he? So do you think there's a chance that he'll play him? Do you think he'll definitely play him?
I think there's a chance he'll play him. If it was me, no, not a chance. He wouldn't kick a ball for Rangers ever again. Purely for the fact that he's leaving. Does he make our midfield stronger? I don't particularly think so. I think Raskin's done all right since he come back. A couple of games under his belt. I'm looking for him to kick on. Diomande is kind of sailing under the radar a wee bit. Is he good? Is he good? Is he no good? Get some nice touches, decent movement. I think probably next season he needs to kick on and perform. But I don't know whether he's going to play. I think the only reason he plays Lundstrom is because he believes that he will help us win this game. And I think if he picks him for the right reasons, or for his right reasons. I don't think the fans will accept it. I think that the fans, although Lundstrom has been a decent player over a piece, he really has. He said ups and downs. His career's went like that. Rangers, he's been, as I said, we were saying he was the best on earth at one point, and he was a really good central midfielder at one point. I think in his contract, he's chucked it, and it could work two ways. It could properly flung the manager under the bus, or he could go out and say, "Do you know what? This is my last hurrah. I'm going to give everything I possibly can, because it's the last time I'll play in a Rangers jersey. Probably the last time I'll ever play in a cup final as well." So I don't know. I really don't know, but I wouldn't play him. I think there's a possibility that he will play him. And there's a possibility that a lot of Rangers fans will not be best pleased if he plays him, but I just don't know. And it's something that they think we're playing for necessity, or I don't really know his thinking on him. As you say, it seems to be his boy, but if he was his boy, would he know have signed a contract? So I think that come January, they obviously offered him a contract, and he's kind of, hold on, I'll think about it, and then no done it. So it can't be that much his boy. If it was his boy, do you know what? I'm going to play every week here. I'm going to sign this contract. So for me, no, he doesn't get a start.
So Brian, Lundstrom doesn't start. I don't want him to start either. I don't want him anywhere near it. But I've got a feeling the manager will. Who would you put? What would your midfield be? Given that that's where we've lost the last couple of Old Firm games, they've just absolutely overrun the middle of the park because we've had absolutely no legs in it.
I would suggest I would love to see Sterling in the sort of centre defence midfield position. I'd like to see Diomande in there, and I think I think the third man in there would probably be Cantwell because they've all got legs in them. Cantwell can produce something. And if you at least have Sterling in the anchor role as such, his energy and his, getting around the park will, hopefully give us some legs in there. So, Raskin's a good shout as well. I don't think he's done anything particularly wrong in the last couple of games. So, but certainly Diomande and Sterling in there for me is the two, and then you're either picking either Raskin or a Cantwell. So that for me, you need legs in the midfield. You need to have mobile people in the midfield. And for me, Lundstram slows things down. He doesn't move things quickly enough. He's very rarely goes forward, passes the ball forward. So for me, that would be a three that I would like.
Right, okay, I'll throw this one back at you because we know Mark didn't actually see much of what happened on Saturday. For me, when Kieran Dell came on, we looked a much better team on Saturday. I know we lost 2 goals late on, but that was because we took the central defence off, basically. Would you perhaps put Kieran Dell in the midfield? Because there was no mention of him there. There's no mention of him in the comments. It's as if the man doesn't exist.
That would be a big shout. It really would, because he obviously hasn't had a lot of minutes. So, it'd be a huge shout for the manager to start Dowell. It depends. Excuse me. Again, it's all. I don't see him starting. I certainly envisage him coming on, but I wouldn't suggest he'll start. No, I think Dowell would be a massive gamble because he's basically. I think that was his first. I think Saturday was his first appearance for a good while as well. So can't see him starting a cup final against Celtic. I just can't.
Okay, Mark,
I'll tell you my midfield. I'll tell you exactly what I do, and I'll tell you exactly the only way you're going to beat them. You match them. You go 4-3-3, and you play Sterling, Raskin, and Diomande as the three in the middle of the park. That's how you beat them. You need to go man to man, man for man. You need to mark them tight. You need to be aggressive. And you lots of running, and you need to match them. Simple as that. For me, that's your three in the middle of the park, and you put Cantwell right, probably Silva left, Dessers up front, and that's the best of a bad lot, to be perfectly honest with you. But the only way you're going to beat them is if you go man for man. That's the only way you beat them. What happens is when we play with a 2. They get 3 in the middle, so they've always got an extra man. So for me, that's the only way you beat them. We should have 5 in the midfield because our 2 wide players should drop into the midfield when we've not got the ball. And that's not what happens. So for me, the only way you match them, you go 4-3-3, you match them. And for me, Raskin, Diomande and Sterling in there, plenty of legs, plenty of power, plenty of aggression. And that's how you beat them.
Brian, is it important that we've got somebody on the right that's got legs in front of Tavernier? Because obviously when he comes forward, we need somebody. Ryan Jack did that job absolutely perfectly, but Ryan Jack's going to be nowhere near the starting lineup, although somebody did mention earlier, does he get an hour? If he was getting any time, he'd have come on Saturday, I think. So is it important that we've got somebody that can cover Tav's arse?
Pretty much, yeah. As you said, Ryan Jack was the perfect foil because he used to just drop it in that right back position, and Tav would take his time and go into midfield and then get into the right back position whenever he got back. But yeah, I do think Tav has missed Ryan Jack. Because as I say, they were a perfect foil. Jack did the dirty work and let Tav. He was almost like Tav got all the glory, but Jack did all the work sort of style. He's very much missed Ryan Jack, and I don't think we've actually ever sort of replaced that. I mean, if you could get to a position where Sterling does that, then that would be ideal. But it just hasn't quite worked out that way. And whoever goes in front of Tav is going to have a big job as well, obviously, because we'll need, as you say, we'll need them to go up and down the park. If Tav gets up the pitch, we'll need somebody to cover in there. So yeah, it's for me, that's I think a lot of the reason why Tav's struggled as well is because he hasn't had his sort of Iman and Jack in the midfield sort of dropping in to help him out if he goes forward. So yeah, it's going to be a huge, the team selection is going to be huge on Saturday.
Yeah, Mark, does the centre defence kind of matter where Tav's concerned? Because depending on who's in beside him, because obviously we know it won't be Goldson. He seemed to have a bit of an understanding with Goldson. So if it's Balogun in beside him, is that going to help him, or would it be better if it was Suter in beside him, who seems to have disappeared off the face of the planet? We don't know what's happened to him since he went off injured, or who's going to be in beside him at centre back to give him that little bit of cover there as well?
I don't know. I don't think God can help Tav at right back. I really don't. For me, see if you're going to play a 4-2-3-1. A couple of people have said it, and for me, you move Tav up one and put Sterling at right back. That's how you solve that right-sided problem, because that's where all the damage comes from. If you're not playing him in the middle, you need to play him at right back. For me, you've got to play him at right back. So I'd move Tav to the right, wide right, Diamande and Raskin. But for me, I would go 3 in the middle of the park. Central, I think it's who you've got fit, really. I think we're pinning all our hopes that fucking Balogun's going to be fit. So if Balogun's fit, you're Balogun and Davies. That's it. And hopefully Yilmaz is fit. So as I said, for me, you're Tavernier, Balogun, Davies, Ridvan, and go 3 in the middle of the park. Or if you're going 2 and a 10, then I would go. I would put Tavernier up 1, and I would put Sterling at right back. That's for me. Your problem position is the right hand side. I think McCausland's done well, but I think the occasion's too big for him. I think he's still too young, and people are going to say, well, he's 20 odd, but that's not the point. I'm thinking he's too inexperienced in a man's game. This is his first major season, so I think it's a hard ask to put a young boy in there in a cup final against your biggest rivals and say, right, go on and perform. For me, that's what I'd do. I'd move Tav 1 up, and I would put Sterling at right back if we're going to play a 4-2-3-1.
Right. Brian William 01 is saying that Tav wouldn't even start for him. Now, that would be a very, very bold thing for the manager to do, and I don't think there's any chance that that's happening.
No, certainly at this stage of the season as well. I mean, we'd have to put Sterling in right back, and that takes away his better job for me, which is the midfield. No, I mean, Tav will be playing. There's absolutely no doubt about that. I cannot see a universe where Tav doesn't start on Saturday. I really don't. So, no, I think the manager will, play Tav. I mean, the other thing you've got to remember is there's not really any real other options other than Tav at right back, apart from Sterling. But you want Sterling in the midfield for his energy and his sort of guile. So, no, there's no way Tav doesn't start. No way.
Right, so Brian, I'll throw this one back at you as well from Charles Lyle. Rangers look too tired to deal with Celtic. Unfortunately, energy's left the team. It won't matter who plays.
If you can't get up for a game like the Scottish Cup final against Celtic, then you shouldn't be at Rangers. It's as simple as that. These guys want to stay at Rangers and play for Rangers, then they've got to at least show on Saturday that as I've said before, I don't mind losing games if you actually look like you're actually giving a damn and trying. But there's been too many occasions this year where it almost feels as though they've just chucked it, and that's for me is unforgivable. If you watch the game on Saturday and we narrowly lose, but you see the effort, then you say fair enough. We just weren't good enough today. But if you lose and it's because of the players apparently have chucked it, then that's for me unforgivable. So no, as Mark Webster just saying, they need to leave everything out of the park on Saturday. They've got one last chance to try and redeem themselves this season and win a cup double. As we just said in the women's pod, cup doubles are not for Rangers, but league's everything. But it would restore a little bit of pride that we've lost this season.
Yep, and Mark, as Curry says, it shouldn't take a cup final to turn up for Rangers. You should turn up for every game. Do you think, as Brian says, if you can't get up for an Old Firm Cup final, you shouldn't even be playing football. Never mind at Rangers. Do you think these guys are capable of getting up for a cup final against Celtic?
I think they are, but I totally agree with Curry's sentiment. They're playing for Rangers. Simple as that. You need to get up for every single game, whether it's Stranraer or whether it's Celtic or whether it's Benfica or PSV. You need to perform. It's as simple as that. And I think that a few in this team just haven't got that. I just think that's something that they've just not got inside them. And I think probably that's what's killed us over the last maybe 2 or 3 seasons. I really do. I think that desire and that hunger's no been there, that kind of fire in their belly. And for me, it's an absolute bare minimum you need to play for this club. Hence why I would get shot at probably 90% of them all. I really would.
Brian, I've just had a thought. Given that we need to get the players up for it, and they shouldn't need to be motivated for it. But as we said, a lot of them aren't the mythical, what we call the Rangers men. So is Alec Ray going to be very, very important in that dressing room on Saturday? Because he knows what it's about. He knows what it means. It shouldn't take that. But is that going to be a little extra spark for them?
I would hope so. But again, the very fact you're in a cup final should be enough. Shouldn't matter who the opposition is. It could be Forest Mechanics. Rangers are playing in the cup final. You should still be up for it and playing, for the jersey. It's as simple as that. It shouldn't matter who the opposition is. You're in a national cup final. You should be going out there and absolutely leaving everything out there. So for me, yeah, the opposition really doesn't matter to me. It just so happens it's our friends along the M8. But I mean, at the end of the day, for me, just leave everything out the park. You've got one chance to sort of salvage something out of the season by winning 2 cups. Go and do it.
Right, Mark. I don't know if you're aware of these. Timothy Sharp saying about Jack Butland's quotes at the end of the game on Saturday, and a lot of the reference was in the past tense. I don't actually have the quotes to hand, but he was saying, he's really enjoyed it, and playing in front of those fans has been really nice. It was all past tense. Does that, if you're aware of them, does that worry you that he might not be staying?
It worries me that we get in a position where this boy's done that well for us that I think that if he goes, I think we'll be in trouble to try and replace him. That's how good this boy's been. I don't know. He's been asked the question and he said he's really enjoyed it. So, I think that's a fair enough comment. I don't really think we should read far too much into it. I think, listen, if he's going to go, he's going to go for good money. So, although it's going to be a bit of a sore one and hard to replace, we're going to need to just go on with it. That is where we are at the moment, I'm afraid. I'd love him to stay, but I think that we need to be realistic. If somebody comes in with like 15 million for him, he's going to need to go, I'm afraid. It's as simple as that. So, but no, I think that let's not read too much into it. I think we're trying to psychoanalyse everything, every word said, and everything. What's the meaning by that? And I think it's a wee bit too much. We'll end up tying ourselves in knots.
Right, Brian, while we're on Jack Butland, a question Jimmy Duff asked earlier on. He's not asking it to be controversial, but has Jack Butland been as good as we all think he is? As he's won clean sheet since the turn of the year. Now, for me, yes, he is as good as we think he is. Because even just looking at the 3 goals on Saturday, he didn't have a ghoster with any of them, because the first one came from a loose ball in the middle of the park, played through to Lawrence Shanklin, who was in miles and miles of space. The second one, the guy had miles of space at the back post on his own again, and the third one was a hopeful punt up the park, the hell of a finish. So can't blame Butland for any of them, and I can't think of any goals that have come from goalkeeping mistakes. So he's maybe not as good as we think he is, but he's certainly not as bad as Jimmy's possibly hinting that he is.
Yeah, I mean, I would defy many other goalkeepers in world football to put up with the defence that Jack Butland's had to put up with on numerous occasions. Some of our defending has been, really, really poor. And as I said, I think I said it on the reaction as well to Hearts. We haven't had the same back four for any length of time. We've not been able to build up, relationships and get used to each other and and get the understanding there. So the goalkeepers having to play with different centre halves all the time, and that can't be good for the goalkeeper either. He needs to play with the same centre halves fairly regularly so that he knows, right, I can trust you to. If I say I'm coming for a ball, I'm coming for it and get out of the way, basically, or the distribution, stuff like that. No, I mean, as I say, you would defy any other goalkeeper in world football to play in front of our defence because they would struggle as well. But I mean, some of the saves that Butland's pulled off this year have been unbelievable. So you've got to you've got to remember that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a few comments that if he does go, as Mark suggested, even I agree with Mark 100%. If we get anything north of £12 million bid for him, then I'm afraid it'll certainly be looked at, and it'll be up to him if he wants to go at that kind of money or not, because we can't force him to go. He's got 3 years left. But there's a few comments in the chat saying Robbie McCrory should take over. Mark, do you think that would even be an option?
Not a chance. No way, Jose. No. I think that there's some people there talking about Butland. He's done this and he's done that. Honest to God, I mean, how can anybody say a bad word against this man? I can't. But it blows my mind. I said a few howlers now, and he needs to sort out his footwork. What? I mean, look at Al McGregor. What a player! But look at his last season. Car crash, absolute car crash. This man's come in, looked rock solid, came for every ball, won pretty much 99.9% of every ball that he's came for, commanded his goal, pulled us out a hole left, right, and centre. I mean, our defence has been cut open like butter time and time again this season. That boy's made wonder saves, and there's people in the comments trying to slag him and saying he's no this and he's no that. I think you're all mad. McCrory, if he's the answer, I don't know what the question is.
Yeah, Brian, I tend to agree. I mean, for me, I think Robbie McCrory has to leave Rangers for the good of his own career. I mean, he's 25 years old now, and I think that's right. I got Lawrence Shankland's age spectacularly wrong earlier. Apparently, he's 28, not the wrong side of 30. So, I mean, but I still don't want him at the money they're quoting. But I mean, Robbie McCrory's 25 years old. He's played a handful of games. He's done well for Rangers. But somebody pointed out in the comments, he went to Livingston, couldn't get a game. You know, in a fairly poor Livingston side. So I just don't think he's the future for Rangers. He's done really well to hang about, but let's be honest, I don't think Jack Butland's going anywhere anyway. He seems to like it. His comments were about how the league season went, I think, so it was all past tense for that reason. So we've kind of one other thing I wanted to touch on before we go, and it's getting completely away from the cup finals, getting away from transfers, getting away from all sorts of stuff. Obviously, we're looking for a new academy director, because we might as well throw this for the last couple of minutes. And Gareth Henderby, his name, I think you put it in the chat, Gareth Henderby, who is currently at Nordsjælland in Norway, and was previously at the Right to Dream Academy, which has brought through some big name players. So you threw his name into the chat, so you're the man I'm going to ask all about him.
Yeah, well, I mean, I actually asked our own Graham McGraw, that is the Mr. Youth, because he knows everything about European football, and even he sort of hadn't really heard much of him. But I mean, we all know what Nordsjælland's like. I mean, they've produced a lot of players. Well, that's where we got Diomande from. So I mean, they've been very good at getting sort of young guys and making them, polishing them up and making them better. So I believe that but it's all rumours just now. There's no way that it's just a name that's been thrown out there. But when you look at his his record, he's been at Nordsjælland, he's been at the Right to Dream Academy as well, and as you say, there's been many a player came through that. So I mean, he's the sort of thing as well. You guys discussed it not long ago with the academy. We've got to decide as a club what we want to do with our academy, because 9 games, I think it was you said in the pod, Wolf, that's not enough football for young players. That's ridiculous. So we've got to address that, and I hope if it is this guy from Sweden that comes in, that he makes it clear that these guys need games week to week and not just nine games in a year. I mean, that's just ridiculous. But it's the sort of signing that you want, because it's a guy that's coming from out with and he's not going to have any sort of prejudged or ideas of how things should be. He doesn't know how things are at Rangers, so I like guys coming from outside the club coming in and inputting their sort of thoughts and their philosophies on it. So let's just hope it's a positive step.
But we thought that about the last incumbent, and he is left to go back to Holland. So who knows? Mark, any opinions? Have you ever heard of Gareth Henderby?
No, I'd be lying if I said I'd heard of him before. But if you look at his pedigree seems good. The kind of his previous CV looks pretty impressive. Working with young guys, young players, bringing young players through. I think the kind of headline that grabbed me was that Nordsjælland's he's made them 68 million. So if he can make us 68 million, I'll be over the moon. But it seems to be, like I said at the start of the pod, it seems to be we're moving in this direction. And for me, it's quite a refreshing direction that we're moving in. It seems to be more angled towards youth, and I think that probably all of us as Rangers fans would like to see young players coming through and influencing the first team. I think that's what happens at lots of other clubs. I think probably the big one that you look at is Ajax. Ajax have done it for years and years and years. Feyenoord, PSV, they've all done that, but they've brought young players through from all different countries in the world. It's not just young Dutch players, which is obviously they do that, but they all bring players from South America, all over the place, Eastern Europe. So I think that's something that we need to spread our net wider, and I think that we need to incorporate youth, bringing in all the kind of best youth that we can get our hands on at all age levels, and try and build them and try and work up as well as that kind of first team level. So it's very refreshing, and it seems to be that's where we're heading. Although nobody's actually officially come out and said that, but that's what it looks like. I think that you guys could probably agree with that. That seems to be what we're trying to do as a club moving forward. Whereas before it's all been bit parts here and all over the place, and we didn't really know, and try to bring in name, and we're trying to bring in older players that are sorry, I'll take that back. No older players. We're trying to bring in players that have been good in the past and not really done it at their current club. So we've tried to bring them back and rekindle that kind of way of playing and that potential. We're trying to reignite that potential in players, which doesn't seem to have worked for us. We were talking about Matondo earlier. Matondo trajectory like that, big money signing, obviously no done it. Then we thought, well, we'll try and get him on the cheap, maybe sell him back on for another 10 million or whatever, and that's not happened. Same with Lammers. Trajectory like that. Went to Italy, never really done it. We've brought him back in for a fraction of what they've paid for him, trying to nurture that. So that for me is no worked. It's no worked. Bringing in championship players, no worked. So I think that we're at the stage where we're exhausted doing a lot of things. Let's try something different, and hopefully that something different works.
Yeah, here's hope. When I talk about things that work, hopefully the team selection on Saturday for the cup final works. I don't need to remind anyone that the cup final's on Saturday at 3:00 at Scotland's National Stadium, which I actually said without laughing, Hampden Park. So, Brian, before we go, is it coming home?
I would so much love to it, but I've ran out of hope with this squad. I really have. It's going to be an absolute. It'll be a massive, massive miracle if we get anything out of Saturday. I really do. I'm just so done with this squad. I just want the season to end, and I just want to get this rebuild started as quickly as possible. It's just, I'm desperately trying to envisage a scenario where we win it, but I'm really, really struggling.
Mark, who's scoring the winning goal for us?
Oh. I don't know. Let's go. Butland up for the final 30 seconds and scores a header.
That would be nice. But I'm going to leave you with a bit of positivity that these two guys can't kind of grab together. We're going to win a cup on Saturday. It's coming home. We need to beat this lot at some point. Philip Clement's well overdue a victory against them. He's going to get that on Saturday. Hopefully he doesn't put John Lundstram in the team, because if he does and it goes wrong, that's him under enormous pressure. If it goes wrong, he's under enormous pressure anyway. But if he plays Lundstram and it goes wrong, he's under even more pressure. So let's all get behind the team on Saturday. Even negative Nelly there to up the top of the screen beside me, Brian up in Forest. Let's hopefully we're cheering the team on to victory. We're here next week on the podcast celebrating with a Scottish Cup sitting beside us. And message to the team, if any of them happen to catch this, is just go out there, leave it all on the pitch. And as Brian said earlier, if you give it your all, it's not good enough, that's fine. It's not good enough, you've lost. But go out there, just do it, die with your boots on, and let's just bring this trophy home. And the Rabbles back for members on Thursday. There'll be, I don't know if we're doing a pre-match for the cup final, because I know Martin's kind of binned the pre-matches, but I think there possibly will be one for the cup final. There'll certainly be a post-match. And with a bit of luck, we're all here in a good mood next Monday. So, Rangers, please just win this bloody cup. Good night.
Sports Social Podcast Network.